Hi, personal finance gang. This is our last topic of this semester, and it's going to be relatively brief. I'm just going to hit the high points. So I hope you guys are all doing good out there, or as good as expected, given we're in pandemic world. And hopefully some of this will start phasing out before too long. But let's get into this. Again, like I said, this is going to be one of our most important topics, and I'm going to touch on a few items that I've mentioned off and on throughout the semester. So some review topics we'll do first. When should you start saving for retirement? We'll talk about that. We'll touch a little bit on Social Security, but not too much, just to mention that in passing. And then we're going to talk about some of the key retirement choices that you will most likely have available to you down the road that you'll want to start using. So these are things that will be in your near-term futures that you want to be ready for. So Social Security, we've all heard, and we know you can get Social Security payments at retirement. So why do we need to even bother with Social Security? Shouldn't we just, with saving for retirement, let's just collect Social Security and we'll all be fine. So can't I just count on Social Security for my retirement? Well, the answer there is no. The reason I say that is Social Security was just basically designed as a floor, a safety net to keep you off the street, keep you from starving. Social Security was not designed to provide you, hey, you're retired and you want to travel, you want to go to resorts, you want to have a fulfilling life, you want to get a new car, a new boat, whatever. So Social Security is not the type of plan that will make that all happen for you. Again, it's just a floor so that you aren't in the street at retirement. So you're going to have to take charge of your futures to make them better than what you would get if you just lived on Social Security payments. So, and then, Social Security payments, they aren't actually even guaranteed by law. What's guaranteed is we have to pay in for the most part, but there is no account that has your name on it where you'll collect at retirement. You can get a Social Security statement, which I'll show you coming up next, but there is not money in an account with your name on it. Okay, so it's not like you have a retirement account and here it is. There's no account with my name on it that says, here's my money. So what we're basically paid from is a pool of funds. But actually, the court cases have decided that this is not a legal requirement. But even after we've been forced to pay into it for years, the government does not have to pay it. Odds are, now of course, they don't want to revolt on their hands, and if the government decided to stop paying it, people would revolt. So I would expect that Social Security will be there for you when you retire in some form. It's going to have to change from its current form to guarantee, or something's going to have to change for it to continue as is, because I haven't collected enough money in to continue it in its current way it's currently handled. So one of the things that will likely change is something that's already changed in the past, is the age at which you get full benefits. So for me right now, this isn't my statement. This is for Wanda Worker here. But for me, my age at which I can retire and get full benefits, what's considered full benefits, is age 67. That used to be age 65. Now, I would say, and as life expectancies keep increasing in the U.S., although I think they've maybe flattened a bit, but as life expectancies increase, people are living longer, so it costs more money to pay them for the rest of their lives. What they'll likely have to do down the road, or one of the things that will likely happen down the road is increase that age at which you're eligible for full benefits. So by the time you retire, maybe this will be age 71 or 72. I'm just guessing here. It could be age 70 to retire to get full benefits. Now, right now, Wanda Worker here could retire at age 62 and get lower benefit amounts. A note on these, again, these are just for Wanda Worker. You can look up yours, but probably don't have enough history there for most of you yet to get a good estimate here. But all of these payments, once you get started in Social Security, you'll get increases, annual increases based on an inflation factor. So these do go up with inflation. It's not like a bond payment where you're stuck with that, hey, you're going to get $1,160 a year forever, which we know the value of that would go down over time as prices increase. But anyway, so to get full benefits, you have to work till age 67. What you'd want to do is kind of play around with, hey, if I live to age 72, am I better off, and hopefully you live longer than that, would I be better off starting at 1160 or waiting 5 years and starting at 1680? So for most people, delaying ends up getting them more total payments. But if you've got a family history of whatever, or if you just need the money, you could start earlier. We're not going to go into Social Security. There's other benefits to it, disability, and so we talked about long-term disability before, and benefits for your survivors, etc. But you can't control this. So this is something that's there to maybe provide a floor, a minimal safety net for when you retire. So we'll take this as kind of a given, and we're going to talk about the choices, the plans where you actually can make a difference. So when should you start saving? This is one of the things I've been harping on all semester, so most of you could probably answer this. As soon as you get that first real paycheck, well, I've got as soon as possible up there, but again, as soon as you get that first real paycheck out of college, you want to start having made contributions, start with making contributions. If you have that money taken out of your paycheck, before you ever see it, you'll never get used to spending it. And, well, this is a shocker. You didn't know this. Most Americans don't save enough. So here's one of our time value of money examples. You could grab your Easy Financial Calculator app on your phone and work this out. But I'll do this for you here. So let's say you start saving at age 25 and put aside $2,000 per year for 40 years at 10%. 10% isn't guaranteed. Long-term average of the stock market, and it's definitely not up 10% for this year so far. But anyway, so we'll just use that as our number there. Your best friend waits until she's 45 and saves 10% for 20 years. Okay, so both of you are retiring at age 65, but your best friend waits till she's 45 to start saving. She puts $5,000 a year aside. So she makes a total of $100,000 in contributions. You make a total of $80,000 in contributions, but you spread yours out over 40 years. So who's better off? So the procrastinator saves for 20 years, ends up with $286,000. Pretty good. She put in a total of $100,000, ends up with $286,000. You put in a total of $80,000, but started earlier. You end up with $885,000. So big difference there, and that's all due to the time value of money compounding. So imagine if you'd put in double that, $4,000 a year, that would be 10% of a $40,000 paycheck. And then imagine that you increased those contributions as you got pay raises. You'd end up with closer to $2 million by doing that. Here's a little chart that shows some of this. Your $5,000 a year friend saving for 10 years, it would take them they'd have to save 30 years at $5,000 a year to get $822,000. That's just to match your 40 years. Doesn't quite match your 40 years at $2,000 a year. So waiting to start saving is not the best way to proceed. The best way to maximize your retirement. So start early, save regularly, save often. Well, here's an even better plan. $5,000 a year for 40 years, you end up with over $2 million. That's assuming 10% interest. But anyway, so that's just some quick time value of money games. And you can do those with your calculator too. Another review question: what percentage of your income should you be saving? We suggest 10 to 15% of your gross pay. So that's just kind of your minimum target. So maybe start off with 10, work up to 15. If you can't start off with 10, maybe as you get pay raises, put a significant chunk of each pay raise into your retirement until you get to at least that 10. So, do your early pay raises, put them, much of them towards getting you up there. But ideally, if you start off with at least 10% with that first paycheck, you'll never miss it coming out of your paycheck. And for several of the options we'll be talking about, you get a tax break, so it won't feel as bad as losing actually 10%. So most Americans are investing too conservatively. What does that mean? Basically that they're not taking enough risk. The default choice for retirement plans for years was money market account. That meant if you open a retirement account at your employer and you didn't tell them how to invest the money, which is something you'll have to do, you would end up having your money put into a money market account. And well, we know money market accounts, a money market mutual fund is a good choice for your rainy day funds. It's relatively pretty darn low risk, but it's also very low return. So money market accounts, the last 10 years, we've had years where they're earning 0.1% or less. And we know from the rule of 72, a rough estimate of how long to double your money, 72 divided by your interest rate, gives you about how long to double your money at that rate. So if you had a money market account that was earning 1%, it would take you roughly 72 years to double your money. If you had that money in a stock account earning 10%, it would take you about 7 years or so to double your money. So for most people in the U.S., the majority of their retirement funds, it's generally suggested that that money be in stock of some form. So company stock. So we talked about like the S&P 500 index and such, or index funds, different categories of mutual funds that relate to stock. Stock is generally a good choice for retirement accounts for most people. Maybe not, not all of it, but starting off, certainly a majority of funds in stock or some related category. It's a good choice for them. Now, anyway, so stock market, good place for your retirement funds, but not for money where you might need it, not for your rainy day funds, money you might need in the next few years, as we've seen with the pandemic market here. Two main categories of retirement plans that we'll talk about and that you'll be able to make decisions relating to: employer-sponsored plans. So most of you will end up working in an employer that has some type of retirement plan. And for the rest of us, for everybody else, and for people who have these, you can go do both these. There are self-directed plans, government plans that give us nice tax advantages. And we'll talk about these. So what we're going to talk about for the remainder of this topic. With employer-sponsored plans, there are two main types. With a defined contribution plan, your employer makes a guaranteed contribution to your retirement account. So with two of my corporate jobs before, my employers put in 3% of my pay into a retirement account with each paycheck I got. And actually what both those places bought with my money was company stock. So I had company stock in my company-sponsored retirement plan. So that was all they guaranteed, was they're going to put money into my account. And nothing was guaranteed about how good my retirement would be or money I'd collect down the road. All that's guaranteed is, hey, you've got money in this going into this account. That's defined contribution plan. With my current job here at the state, they put in about 5% of my pay into an account, and I get to tell them, with the limited choices available, where to put those funds. But that's guaranteed. They'll put in 5% or so of my pay each check. Nothing's guaranteed about the quality of my retirement or anything. With the defined benefit plans, what companies do is guarantee, hey, you work here for 30 years or however long. You have different rules on that, and your payment changes based on your time of service, maybe up to a maximum amount. And they will give you retirement pay based on your earnings, maybe your earnings over the last several years, the average of that or something. But you're guaranteed some type of benefits at retirement. So the benefits are guaranteed, and the company has to manage a plan that will make those payments to you. So you're guaranteed payments at retirement with a defined benefit plan. Which of these is more common now, the defined benefit plan or the defined contribution plan? The defined benefit plan is maybe what your grandparents had. This is not very common anymore, the defined benefit plan. Most companies now are going to defined contribution plans. With a defined benefit plan, a company's liability, they have to estimate it, but people live longer. That means they owe more. The company owes more, and they have to, be prepared to pay that because they promised to make those payments. So there's a lot of uncertainty, financial uncertainty for companies and such. Defined contribution plan, they don't have any uncertain liabilities down the road. Doesn't matter if you live to be 140. All they've promised is to make payments into your plan as you work for the employer. So those are what most plans now are. So the company's going to put some money in your account. What it grows to, what you have at retirement, that's out of their hands. They didn't guarantee that. So what this means is for most plans, are going to be choosing where your money goes, your contribution, and most likely your employer contribution, depending as well. Some of them may, like I said, I had employers that put that straight into a company stock category. So some questions you want to ask about company-sponsored retirement plans. Well, first, what are the details on it? Is it defined contribution, most likely, etc.? But leading off, well, again, you want to ask questions about retirement plans. This will actually, you do this after you say you've been offered a job and you're trying to look at the overall benefits. This is a key benefit. And by asking about this, well, you learn about all your benefits, and you actually show your employer you're thinking long term, thinking down the road toward retirement. Not that you're, rushing to get there or anything, but you're planning for the future. I'd be much more impressed by someone who asked about a retirement plan versus someone who didn't. So again, even though it's 40 to 50 years away for you, you want to start thinking and saving for that. So, are you eligible to participate? When are you eligible to participate if you aren't? Some employers may make you wait a year before you can start participating in their plan. Okay, some may let you start immediately. Maybe some won't let you start till January 1 of the coming year. But anyway, so are you eligible to participate? And this can make a big difference. Imagine that your employer puts in 10%, which would be pretty good, and you make $60,000 a year, so that would be a $6,000 contribution. If you have to wait till next year for that, hey, that's $6,000 lost. But anyway, you want to know, are you eligible? Do you have to contribute to the employer-sponsored plan? Is there a required contribution? So some employers would require that. Like the state right now, we have to put in 3% of our pay. So that comes out of our paycheck. So we aren't going to see that 3%, and it goes into the company-sponsored retirement plan, or the retirement plan. The retirement age is probably not going to be a deal, but if it was a defined benefit plan, this might come into play. You'd want to know the rules and such. Now, vesting rules. I do want you to know this term vesting. This is just for the employer contributions. When are you eligible to receive those? I'm going to sneeze. So the employer contributions, when can you... Sorry. Yeah, I could use my hand. I'll use some sanitizer. There's nobody else here. Sorry. When are the vesting rules relate to when are you eligible to receive, or when are you eligible to get those contributions that the employer made? So with the money you put in the plan, so some of the money comes out of your pay directly, that's always 100%. You're 100% vested in that. This means if you leave the employer tomorrow, you get to take your contributions to the plan with you. We'll talk about that briefly coming up. But you may or may not be able to take all of the contributions made by the employer. So with vesting, that just means when are you entitled to the employer contributions. So some places maybe you're vested after 5 years. So if you stay at the employer 5 years, you get 100% of the money they put into your retirement account. It just depends. At the university, we're 100% vested immediately. So if I'm going to get a paycheck this Friday, the university is going to put some money in my retirement account, match based on my salary. If I leave on Saturday, I get to take that. I'm not planning on it. I get to take my share of the contributions. That's mine. So I'm 100% vested immediately, but not all employers do that. Matching is another term I want you to know. So vesting, when are you eligible for the contributions the employer makes? Matching is, hey, what does the employer, well, basically, with some plans, employers will match your contributions. So they'll put in contributions to the plan if you contribute. So at both the corporate employers, last two corporate employers I had before going to work at a university, we had to put in, well, no, we didn't have to put in. If we put in 6% of our pay, they would match 50 cents on the dollar. So they would put in up to 3%. If we put in more than 6%, that was it. They were only going to match, they only matched the first 6%. So that's matching. But hey, if someone's going to, I'm going to talk about this more later on, someone's going to put in, if you put in 6%, they put in 3%, that's a guaranteed instant 50% return. So you've really got to take that. So you do want to know about matching, and we'll touch again on that a little bit more coming up. Let's pause right here and take a break, and I'll continue this in just a bit in another video.